Ohio Stadium, May 14, 2018, 9:47 a.m. The Columbus sky was so blue it felt almost rude. 65,000 red seats stretched out like a sea of frozen blood, and I stood in the middle of the artificial turf, black gown flapping, square cap tilted because of the wind blowing up from the Scioto River. Brutus Buckeye, the giant squirrel, was bouncing around C-deck taking pictures with families, but no one was calling my family. I looked up at the stands for the 17th time. Still empty. Section 23C, row 12, seats 6 through 9, 4 seats I had reserved 3 months earlier and mailed the printed tickets home with certified mail, were now occupied by 4 random red caps someone had placed there to save spots. I smiled, the kind of smile people post on Instagram with the caption, "So proud of my baby," except no one was taking my picture. I held my phone out as far as my arm would reach and snapped a selfie with the Class of 2018 sign. In the photo, I looked like a forgotten doll in the middle of Target on Black Friday. The announcer's voice boomed. Harper June Quinn, magna cum laude, data science and economics. The applause was polite, even, the kind strangers give a pilot for landing safely. I walked across the stage, shook the provost's hand, accepted the empty diploma tube, the real one would come in the mail, and took one last look at the stands. Still no balloons, no glitter sign that said, "We love Harper." I whispered to myself, "Congratulations, Harper." 4 years earlier, when I got my Ohio State acceptance letter with a 70% scholarship, my mother's only comment had been, "Great, so you can pay for your own housing now, right?" Riley was filming a What I Eat in a Day as a D1 cheerleader vlog, even though she had never actually made the university squad. Dad was busy coaching Dublin Kaufman's football team to what he swore would be a state championship. No one drove the 25 minutes downtown to help me move in. I dragged my suitcase onto a Greyhound, sat next to an old woman who smelled like cat litter, and told myself, "It's fine, I'm used to it." 4 years later, I was still used to it. Used to waking at 4:30 a.m. for the opening shift at the High Street Starbucks, steaming 180 lattes before 8 a.m. Used to tutoring first-year engineers for $35 an hour so I could afford the crumbling studio in Franklinton. Used to midnight shifts in Thomson Library, writing my thesis, predictive fraud detection using graph neural networks while the rest of the world slept. I never asked my family for a single dollar after 18. I thought that would at least make them notice me. But on the one day I truly wanted them to notice, they were busy. I opened the last text from my mother, sent at 5:12 a.m. while I was riding the #2 bus to the stadium. "Mom, Riley just got booked last minute for a huge gym brand campaign in Miami. Flight leaves at 10:30 from CMH. Daddy's driving her to the airport right now. Graduation ceremonies take forever and it's so hot standing in the sun. So proud of you though. Love you. Love, love, love." Below it, a sparkling heart sticker and an Instagram story of Riley posing in front of a private jet, caption, "1M followers unlocked new doors, literally, #blessed, #ad. I didn't reply. I turned the phone off, shoved it deep into the gown pocket like a hot coal, and walked onto the stage as if the whole world was watching. In reality, no one was. When the ceremony ended, everyone spilled onto the field, hugging, throwing caps, crying. I lingered near A-deck, watching other families. An Asian mom sobbing into her son's shoulder, a black dad hoisting his daughter onto his shoulders yelling, "That's my baby, summa cum laude." I saw my classmate Jenna surrounded by 8 relatives and an LED sign that read, "Jenna, you did it." I wasn't jealous. I was just tired. I opened my photos, found the one I'd taken yesterday, me and the trial down, grinning in the dorm mirror, sent to the family group chat. Riley had replied with a fire emoji. Dad sent a clapping hands emoji. Mom never opened it. I deleted the photo. Then I deleted the entire group chat. The wind picked up. I zipped my gown all the way to my chin, even though it was 85 degrees. I didn't want anyone to see my face anymore today. I slipped through the celebrating families, through the hugs, the happy tears, the glitter signs. No one bumped into me. I had been invisible for so long that today was only the official confirmation. On the bus back to the dorm to return my key, a mother beside her son was saying, "I took the whole day off just to watch you walk. Did you know that?" The son nodded, eyes red. I turned to the window and pretended to watch Columbus slide away. In my head, one sentence looped like broken code. Today was the most important day of my life, and they chose Riley. I didn't cry. I had trained myself out of crying at 13, the night Riley was crowned homecoming queen, while I ran the spotlight from the catwalk, and no one ever learned my name. But something inside my chest broke, not loudly, not with tears, just a quiet click, like a switch flipping to a new setting. When the bus reached the last stop, I stood, pulled my tiny suitcase, the sum of everything I owned, and whispered so softly no one could hear, "Harper Quinn is not coming home." The May wind whipped my hair into chaos. I didn't smooth it down. I let it fly wild, as if announcing that a different Harper was about to be born from today's ashes. 8:42 a.m. I was waiting in the tunnel leading to the field. The air smelled of fresh-cut grass and sunscreen. Everyone around me was laughing, adjusting tassels, taking pictures. I wore the black gown over my faded OSU t-shirt, jeans, and the Converse with holes at the toes, the only outfit that felt worth wearing today. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. I thought it might be a late congratulations from my roommate, or at least a photo from the stands. "We're here!" I opened it. Mom, 8:42 a.m. Riley just got booked last minute for a huge gym brand campaign in Miami. Flight leaves 10:30 from CMH. Daddy's driving her right now. Graduation takes forever, and it's hot standing in the sun. So proud of you, though. Love you. Heart. 3 sparkling hearts. I read it again and again, waiting for a typo that would change it to, "Just kidding, we're in 23C. There was none. I stood frozen while the line surged forward. Someone bumped my shoulder, apologized, ran to their family. I didn't move. The screen glowed. The words sat there like a silent slap. I'm about to walk across the stage. Sent. 2 gray ticks. Mom had already switched to airplane mode with Riley. I laughed, a dry, soundless laugh. Then I powered the phone off and buried it in my gown pocket like a burning stone. 9:05 a.m. My row was called. I stepped into blinding sunlight. My name, magna cum laude. Polite applause. I didn't look at the stands anymore. I looked straight into the official university camera, the one that would preserve this moment forever in the OSU archives. I smiled, teeth showing, eyes dead. After shaking the provost's hand, I walked to the wings. Brutus Buckeye was there, huge head, arms waving like crazy. A ceremony staffer asked, "Photo with Brutus, grad?" I nodded. I stood beside the giant squirrel, wrapped an arm around its round belly, grinning wide. Flashes popped. In my head, only one thought. At least someone agreed to stand next to me for a picture today. I left the stadium at 11:12 a.m. The parking lots were full of hugs, baby's breath bouquets, hand-glittered signs. I passed a family sobbing because their son had just graduated medical school. I heard bones creak from how hard the mother hugged him. I lowered my head, dragged my tiny suitcase, walked to the bus stop. On the bus back to the dorm, I turned the phone on again. New message from Mom, heart, at 10:58 a.m. On the plane now. Riley is so excited. First time on a private jet. Heart, heart. Screenshot of Riley's story sipping champagne in cream leather seats. Hashtag pinch me moment. Hashtag brand trip. Not one word asking how I was, whether the ceremony was beautiful, whether I was hot. I stared until the screen went black and reflected my face. Dry eyes, tight lips. I long pressed the conversation. Delete chat. This conversation will be deleted on your device. Confirm. The bus stopped at Lane Avenue. I stepped off into harsh sunlight. I pulled my mortarboard low over my face even though no one was looking. In my gown pocket, the empty diploma tube rolled against the powered-off phone. I pulled the tube out, looked at the gold script, The Ohio State University, and slowly tore it in half. The small ripping sound was swallowed by the bus engine. I dropped both pieces into a public trash can. Harper Quinn had just received her degree. Harper Quinn had also just ended. I got off the final stop on France Road at 1:17 p.m. Dublin, Ohio looked exactly the same. Red brick houses, manicured lawns, American flags, gleaming SUVs in open garage proud. Only difference, today I was wearing a graduation gown and the town still didn't notice. Our house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac, 4127. Garage doors wide open, Dad's Expedition parked crooked. From the street, I already heard the laughter and Riley's usual EDM vlog playlist. I dragged my suitcase across the front lawn, deliberately letting the wheels crush Mom's new tulips. No one came to the door. I let myself in. The living room blazed with ring light glare. Riley sat center sofa in a white crop top knot, live streaming. Mom beside her holding a plastic champagne flute, cheeks over-contoured. Dad behind the camera in his old Kaufman football hoodie, giving constant thumbs up. Guys, we just dropped my sister at the airport for a first-class trip to Miami, Riley squealed. The brand sent a private jet, no cap. Comments flooded. OMG Queen, living my dream, spill the tea. Mom beamed at the lens. All I did was drive. I don't understand any of this influencer stuff. I stood right inside the front door, gown dusty, cap crooked, suitcase at my feet. Not one pair of eyes moved toward me. Riley kept talking. Drop 1,000,000 hearts if you want to fly private, too. I cleared my throat. I'm home. 3 heads finally turned. Riley's nose wrinkled for half a second like she smelt something off. Then the professional smile snapped back. Mom blinked, mouth still open mid-sentence. Oh, why are you wearing your graduation gown, Harper? She asked, genuinely surprised, in a tone that made me want to laugh out loud. Dad nodded like it all made sense now and turned back to the phone. Chat, Mom just asked why Harper's wearing her cap and gown, LOL. Comments, LOL, little sis came home and nobody remembered. Graduation? Who? Riley shrugged at the camera. Yeah, my little sis graduated college or something today, but we were busy getting me to Miami. Sorry guys, big sis duties first. I stood there exactly 15 seconds. No one asked if the ceremony was nice, if I cried, if anyone took my picture. Just TikTok music and Mom gushing over Riley's new designer bag. I dragged the suitcase upstairs. The wheels went clack, 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 my only proof of existence in this house. My old room had become Riley's content creation and fitness corner. My single bed shoved against the wall, replaced by a squat rack, yoga balls, full-length mirror ringed in pink-purple LEDs. My 2022 PyCon poster still clung to the wall, now half covered by a giant Riley Quinn 1.2M banner. I sat on the floor among the dumbbells, opened my battered sticker-covered MacBook. Screen glowed. I typed into Google, "How to legally change your name in Ohio." The state site appeared first. The process was insultingly simple. File petition at county probate court. Public notice, waivable for personal safety. $124 fee. Hearing in 28 through 40 days. I opened a blank Google Doc, cursor blinking. I typed one line, font 11, black. Harper Quinn dies tonight. I stared at it, then added, Harper Ellis begins tomorrow. I saved it as rebirth.doc. Downstairs the noise continued, Riley screaming about donations, Mom laughing, Dad whistling along. I opened my banking app. Savings, $9,412. Enough for a one-way Greyhound anywhere. Enough to start over. I stood, pulled the old suitcase from under the bed, the one I used freshman move-in day. I packed 3 hoodies, 2 pairs of jeans, MacBook and charger, passport, valid until 2030, 1 small framed photo, me and Mrs. Lauren Ellis, junior year, her pointing at a Python debug session on the whiteboard. Not a single family photo. Not one. I opened the last desk drawer, took out the childhood journal. First page, age 13. One day I'll leave and no one will remember I existed. I tore the page out, crumpled it, tossed it in the trash beside the squat rack. Downstairs, Riley shrieked with joy. Someone had just donated $500. I closed the bedroom door so softly it made no sound. No need to lock it. Nothing here was mine anymore. I opened the doc again, added one final line. And no one in this house will ever know where she went. Save. Shut down. Outside the window, the Dublin sun was setting fiery red over identical roofs. I took one last look at the room that no longer belonged to me, then dragged the suitcase into the hallway. Stairs, clack clack again. Downstairs, still laughing, music thumping, ring lights flashing. I walked straight through the living room. No one looked up. I opened the front door, stepped onto the porch. May air cool and sweet with cut grass and distant donuts from Mom's shop. I pulled my mortarboard low, dragged the suitcase across the darkening lawn. At the sidewalk, I turned for one final look. Through the picture window, I saw Riley dancing for the camera, Mom clapping, Dad raising a beer. I whispered into the night, "Goodbye." Then I turned and walked into the Dublin dark without looking back. Harper Quinn died on her own front steps. Harper Ellis was born on her own 2 feet. I didn't go straight to the bus station. I walked 3 blocks, turned toward Dublin Kaufman High School. Nighttime, campus deserted, only the football stadium lights glowing far away. The main gate locked, but I still knew the bent bar behind the library, small enough for a skinny girl to slip through. I still fit. Inside, everything dark except silver moonlight on red brick corridors. Suitcase wheels whispered over vinyl. Room 214, 2nd floor, end of the STEM hall. The old wooden door still bore the tiny knife-carved words from the AP Comp Sci kids, Ellis's Nerd Herd 2019-2020. I stood in front of it, palm against the cold knob. Senior year, I practically lived in this room. Mrs. Lauren Ellis had been the only person who ever looked at me without looking through me. I still remember that November afternoon junior year. Riley had just been crowned homecoming queen, the whole school losing its mind, my parents skipping Dad's practice to ride the convertible with her. I stayed until 7 p.m. debugging a statewide robotics project. When everyone left, only Mrs. Ellis and I remained. She turned off the classroom lights, left just the desk lamp, and set a vending machine hot chocolate in front of me. "Harper," she said, voice raspy from mint vape, "do you know why your code always runs faster than everyone else's?" I shook my head. "Because you're not afraid to break things. You don't wait for permission to try. You don't need a pat on the back to keep going." She tapped my keyboard. "But you're terrified of taking up space. You shrink so others don't feel small. Stop it. You don't have to be smaller so that others can feel bigger." The sentence punched me in the chest. I sobbed right there in front of the laptop like a toddler. She didn't hug me. She wasn't the hugging type. She just sat beside me and quietly fixed my syntax errors until I stopped. Every Wednesday after that, I stayed until 8 p.m. She taught me graph theory, taught me how to say no without apologizing, taught me that intelligence isn't something to hide under a desk. She was the first person to call me kiddo without making me want to disappear. Then, sophomore year of college, I got the school-wide email. Subject, Mrs. Lauren Ellis, celebration of life this Saturday. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to goodbye. I didn't go to the funeral. I wasn't brave enough to see the casket. I just sat in my dorm, rereading every slide she ever sent me, every comment on my code. Clean, elegant, proud of you, kiddo. Now, I stood in front of silent room 214, took out my phone, flashlight on the missing nameplate, only 4 nail holes and faded glue. I pressed my forehead to the cold wood and whispered, "I'm back, Mrs. E." I didn't cry. I just felt the holes she left suddenly sharpen, like a missing variable I was finally ready to define. I pulled a pen from my gown pocket and wrote on the peeling doorframe where her nameplate used to be. Harper Ellis was here, 2018. I stared at the words. Harper Ellis? It sounded like a real person, a person who didn't have to apologize for existing. I remembered her last email before hospice. If one day you need to run, run towards something, not just away from. And when you get there, plant my name somewhere it can keep growing. I nodded in the dark. I'm going to carry you with me, Mrs. Lauren. You'll be the rest of me no one can take. I turned, suitcase whispering again, slipped back through the fence, gown ripping longer on the metal. I left the tear. It felt like an official scar. On the way to the all-night bus stop, I opened the doc on my phone, added beneath, Harper Quinn dies tonight. From now on, I will sign every line of code, every paycheck, every lease, every breath with the name she gave me permission to own. Lauren Ellis, thank you for teaching me how to be big. I'm taking you with me. Save. The Dublin moon hung over identical roofs. I walked beneath it, footsteps lighter, as if I had just dropped an old name along with a torn black gown. Harper Quinn died in the hallway of her old high school. Harper Ellis walked out the date, 22 years old, and never looked back. The next morning, May 15th, 7:12 a.m., I stood outside the Franklin County Courthouse in downtown Columbus, gray hoodie, small backpack, suitcase at my feet. Still chilly, breath fogging. I hadn't slept. Eyes bloodshot but dry, as if tears had been informed they were not welcome today. Doors opened at 8. I was first in line at the civil filing counter. The silver-haired clerk looked up. Name change? Yes, ma'am. She slid the thin packet across. Petition to change name of adult, State of Ohio. I filled it out right there, blue ink, neat printing. Current legal name, Harper June Quinn. Requestive legal name, Harper Ellis. Reason, personal choice to honor a mentor who significantly impacted my life. I attached a birth certificate, Ohio driver's license, $124 cash. She stamped it with a satisfying ka-chunk, handed me the receipt. Hearing will be scheduled within 30 to 45 days. Want to publish notice? No, ma'am. Waiving for personal safety. She nodded, no questions. Total time, 9 minutes, 40 seconds. I walked out at 8:21 with paper proof that Harper Quinn would be legally dead within 6 weeks. I felt strangely weightless. 9:15 a.m. I sold my 2008 silver Honda Civic, the one my parents bought for Riley's graduation, but she called too old, so it became mine, at CarMax on Sawmill Road. $2,800 cash. I signed the title, left the keys, didn't look back. 10:40 a.m. Greyhound Station, East Main Street. One-way ticket. Columbus, Chicago, Seattle, seat 34A, departs noon, arrives 62 hours later barring delays, $187. The clerk asked, round trip? One way. She gave a tired smile and handed me the ticket. I tucked it beside the small framed photo of Mrs. Ellis. 11:55 a.m., final waiting area chair. I opened the phone with the old SIM and performed the ritual. Facebook. Deactivate. Taking a break. Confirm. Harper Quinn vanished from 312 friends, 311 of whom never messaged anyway. Instagram, @HarperJQ. Delete account. Gone. 87 posts, 412 followers, 90% bots. Gmail, harper.quinn.03. Permanently delete. 14 years of history erased in 30 seconds. T-Mobile app. New prepaid number. Seattle area code. Old SIM snapped in half, tossed. iCloud. Sign out all devices. Erase this iPhone. Only the hidden folder Ellis with 11 photos survived. I transferred it to the green 64 GB USB Mrs. Ellis gave me Christmas 2018, then wiped the phone clean. The screen returned to factory hello. I powered off, dropped it in the backpack. 12:05 p.m., boarding call for Chicago. I stood, pulled the suitcase, walked aboard without looking back. No goodbye texts, no farewell posts. Just me and one USB in my hoodie pocket. The bus rolled out of Columbus at 12:17. I watched familiar streets recede. High Street, the Oval, I-70 West. Every mile, Harper Quinn felt a little lighter, as if pieces of the old name were falling off the side of the road. First rest stop near Dayton, I went to the bathroom, removed the torn black gown, stuffed it under dirty diapers in the trash. Put on gray hoodie, pulled hood up. In the mirror, I no longer recognized myself, and that was exactly the point. For the next 48 hours, I barely slept. Peanut butter sandwiches from gas stations, free tap water, offline coding. First personal project under the new name, a tiny fraud detection script. Top comment, author Harper Ellis. Started May 15, 2018. Because some people are born twice. Second night, crossing the moonlit Rockies, I opened the USB, looked at the last photo of Mrs. Ellis. Red sweater, whiteboard, hello world in Python, arm around my shoulders, both grinning. I pressed the drive to my chest and whispered, "You see, I'm running the right direction now." Morning of May 18, the Greyhound rolled into Seattle in soft drizzle. I stepped off at King Street Station. Backpack, suitcase, messy hair, dark circles, but chest, feather light. No one knew who I was. No one had ever heard of Harper Quinn. Only Harper Ellis, 22, no past, no ties, no explanations. I breathed in rain and salt and distant coffee. I had pulled off the cleanest disappearing act of my life. Harper Quinn had evaporated from Ohio without a single digital trace. Harper Ellis had just arrived on the West Coast, carrying one USB and a name Mrs. Lauren Ellis had let her borrow forever. Seattle greeted me with relentless misty rain, the kind locals call a sunbreak when it pauses for 5 minutes. June 18, 2018, 6:12 a.m., I stepped out of the station, hoodie soaked, suitcase wheels hissing through neon puddles. The smell of Puget Sound salt mixed with Vietnamese Fin coffee overwhelms me for a second. This was the first time I had ever smelled the ocean. I booked a tiny studio on Capitol Hill through the new phone, $1,100 for 30 days. The host, an older lesbian named Ruth, texted, "Key under the fake cactus pot left of door. Welcome to the gayborhood." I smiled for the first time in 4 days of bus. The room was exactly like the photos, 19 meters square, old wood floors, window overlooking wet Pine Street Hill, mini kitchen with one pot. I dropped the suitcase, plugged the USB into my MacBook, moved the 11 photos into a hidden folder, then I collapsed and slept 14 hours straight. Third day in Seattle, I started job hunting. 1-page resume, Harper Ellis, B.S. Data Science and Economics, The Ohio State University, magna cum laude, 3.92 GPA. No fancy internships, just independent projects in fraud detection and 4 years self-funded education. I sent 47 applications from Analog Coffee over a $3.25 Americano. Fifth night, the phone rang. Unknown 206. Hello, is this Harper Ellis? Lynn Gwynn from Eris Global. We loved your application for junior data analyst. Can you come in tomorrow at 10? I almost dropped my water. Eris Global, hot fintech startup in South Lake Union, fresh off a $42 million Series B. I answered with fake calm. Yes, absolutely. Interview in a glass-walled open office overlooking a foggy Space Needle. Lin Wen, tiny, undercut, Patagonia Verde, spoke a mile a minute. We need someone who can smell fraud before it happens. Your thesis on graph neural nets is wild, by the way. Beside her, Mateo Ortiz, lanky senior data scientist, hoop earrings, huge grin. We don't care where you went to school. We care if you can stop merchants from losing millions. They gave me a real-time case. Detect fraud ring in 2 million rows, 45 minutes. I opened Jupyter, types in silence. 38 minutes later, I slid the screen back. 97.8% accuracy, 0.3% false positives. Lynn looked at Mateo. Mateo looked at Lynn. Lynn said, "Can you start Monday? 78K base, full health, unlimited PTO, and free lunch Wednesdays." I nodded, speechless. Inside, I screamed, $78,000, 3 times everything I earned in Columbus combined. Monday, I wore my one decent white shirt, walked 40 minutes downhill because I hadn't bought a bus pass yet. Lynn met me at the door, handed me a green badge, Harper Ellis, data analyst. "Welcome to the chaos," she laughed, dragging me to the kitchen. "Vietnamese coffee on tap. I brew it myself." Mateo appeared with 2 banh mi from the truck downstairs, shoved one into my hand. "Eat, today will be long. Also, we do Taco Fridays. Tu viens ou pas?" I nodded, feeling for the first time like someone actually wanted me in the room. First 3 months at Aris were a whirlwind. 9 to 10-hour days, far fewer instant noodles, many more banh mi. Ling taught me to order café soda properly. Mateo taught me Spanish curses when models overfit. Nights I fell asleep to rain on the studio roof. One September evening, Ling and Mateo dragged me to a Capitol Hill rooftop bar. Still raining, but we sat under a big umbrella drinking Rainier cans. Ling asked, "Where are you really from, Harper? You never talk about before." I sipped beer, looked at the misty city lights. "Columbus. Family. Complicated. I came here to start over." Mateo nodded. "Valid. I left Texas because my parents couldn't handle a gay son. Welcome to the chosen family club." Ling clinked cans. "From now on, we're your family. Anyone touches you, they deal with all 3 of us." I laughed, really laughed, for the first time since graduation day. Raised my can. To chosen family. 3 cans clinked in the Seattle rain. That night, back in the studio, I opened the USB, looked at Mrs. Ellis's photo, and whispered, "I found new family, Mrs. E. They don't need me to shrink so they can grow." Rain sounded like applause. 4 years in Seattle passed like a script on GPU. 2018, 2022. I stopped counting days by seasons and started counting by model deploys, all-nighters, and mornings Lynn brought banh mi, yelling, "Eat, you skinny caffeine tree." Junior, 78K. Mid-level, 118K. Senior risk strategist at 25 with 172K plus equity after I built an early warning system that slashed fraud 68% for our biggest client. But March 2022, age 26, was the real turning point. Our largest client, Pacific Mart, 340 stores from Oregon to Alaska, 7 annual contract. Tuesday morning, my dashboard flashed red. Tiny recurring $9.97 charges across 87 stores in 11 minutes. Too clean to be real. I dragged Lynn and Mateo into a war room. 48 hours, no sleep. I reverse engineered the money trail, fake gift cards, mules, Eastern European crypto wallets. Potential loss, $12.4 million in 9 days. Thursday night, I presented to Pacific Mart's CEO and CISO. Final slide. We stopped a 12M bleed before it started. You're welcome. 5-second silence, then applause. CEO said, send the $2 million bonus invoice. I'll sign it myself. Next week, lead risk strategist, $238K plus 0.4% equity. Rooftop taco party, Mateo drunk yelling, to Harper Ellis, the scariest bitch in fintech, and we love her. Meanwhile, 2,400 miles east, Columbus was on fire. My parents' donut franchise, 42 stores, mom regional manager, collapsed in an 18M fraud scandal. Owner under FBI investigation for drip embezzlement. I read it on Hacker News at 3 a.m., smirked, not shocked. 2 days later, mom's Instagram bio changed. Proud mama of Riley Quinn 1.8M and my genius younger daughter in big tech on the West Coast, #blessed. Stories of old heiress articles. So proud of my baby girl in Seattle. No tag. She didn't know which account was mine anymore. Riley's TikTok reaction. POV, your little sister ghosted the fam for 4 years, then got famous without crediting us. 3.2 million views. Mom commented, she's always been so independent. We miss her. I turned the phone off. Didn't even dry laugh. 4 years, 0 calls, 0 "Are you alive" texts. Now I had market value, so they claimed me. Lynn the next day, your fam out here selling you like a second-hand Birkin. I shrugged, let them, just don't let them knock on my door. They knocked anyway. November 2022, I keynoted Fraud Prevention Summit in Vegas. My 18-minute talk, From Invisible to Invaluable, hit YouTube, 800K views in 48 hours. That night, the first email from mom's old address, forwarded through company mail. Subject, we saw your speech, baby. Harper, mommy, and daddy are so proud. You look so grown up. We always knew you were special. Can we talk? Love you forever. Forwarded to folder, spam, family. No reply. Mateo saw, snorted. They smelled money. End of 2022, Eris did a tender offer. My 0.4%, $1.7 million cash after tax. I bought a 1-bedroom condo in First Hill with rain views, signed as Harper Ellis, no cosigner, no past required. Move-in nights, I hung exactly 1 photo. Me and Mrs. Ellis, 2019, her arm around me, both grinning in front of whiteboard. I stood in front of it and whispered, I'm big now, Mrs. E. I don't shrink anymore. Outside, Seattle rain fell steady, but I wasn't cold. October 2023, age 28, I made the cover of Puget Sound Business Journal 40 Under 40. Studio shoot in Pioneer Square, black blazer, short hair, eyes drilling the lens like I was reading source code. Headline across my chest, Harper Ellis, the woman who sees tomorrow. She stops 100 million frauds before breakfast. 6-page spread, self-taught coder from the Midwest to saved 7 major clients from sophisticated attacks this year. They never learned exactly where in the Midwest. I never corrected nothing. Release day, Lynn texted at 5 a.m. Your face on the cover, bitch! I bought 20 copies to show my mom. That night, rooftop party at Eris. CEO raised glass. To Harper, who makes criminals lose sleep so we can sleep well. Everyone cheered. I smiled, but my eyes still scanned the room. Old habit, detect threats before they form. 2 weeks later, keynote at Money 2020 Vegas. 4,000 people, Bellagio ballroom, blinding lights, charcoal suit. I opened with, most people think fraud prevention is about catching criminals. I think it's about making them unemployed. Final line, now quoted everywhere. The best security system isn't the one that catches every thief. It's the one that convinces thieves there's no point trying. Video dropped on LinkedIn that night. 4.8 million views in 72 hours. At McCarran, waiting for my flight home, Lynn texted, your sister just DM'd the company page. I opened Eris Global LinkedIn. New message from Riley Quinn. Verified 2.4M. Hey sis, saw your speech, literally crying. So proud of my little sister killing it in tech. Can we catch up? Miss you so much. Reaction. 3 old family photos attached. Me, 14, shoved in the corner. 412 reactions, 89 comments. OMG, reunion loading. I stared 7 seconds. Blocked sender. No reply, no screenshot, no drama. Just block, notifications off. On the flight home, seat 12A, flight attendant asked my drink. Water, no ice. She grinned. You're the fraud lady from the viral video, right? I nodded. She whispered, my sister sent it to me. You're badass. I smiled for the first time that day. 11 p.m., back in First Hill, laptop open, hundreds of congrats messages. I answered Linh and Mateo first, then opened the USB. Looked at Mrs. Ellis. Today, 4 million people watched me speak. You proud? I knew the answer. She would say, kiddo, speak a little louder now. Next morning, Riley posted crying story. Tried to reach my sister after years, and she ghosted me again. Pray for my family. 4.1 million views. Mom commented, she's always been so independent. We just want her to know we love her, huh? I turned the phone off, went to work like any other day. Linh handed me Finn coffee, winked. Your sister more famous than you now. I shrugged. Let her be famous somewhere else. The magazine cover hung in Eris lobby all month. Every time I passed, I looked my paper self in the eye and thought, they can see me on a cover, but they no longer have permission to see me in real life. Wednesday, November 17th, 2023, 8:42 a.m. I stepped off the elevator on floor 19, Eris Global, and Linh came running, pale. Harper, lobby, your family's here. I thought she was joking until she shoved her phone at me. Riley's live TikTok. Riley Quinn, live 142K viewers. Surprising my little sis at her big tech job in Seattle. Family reunion loading, aw. Riley in white faux fur coat, top knot, holding huge red roses. Behind her, my parents. Dad in ancient Kaufman football hoodie, Mom in huge sunglasses despite the drizzle. All 3 in the glass lobby, in front of the Eris logo. Riley yelling into handheld mic. Guys, we flew all night to surprise my little sister at her fancy job. Look at this place. Comments. This is gonna be so wholesome. She's gonna cry. Zoom in. I froze in the hallway. Marcus, the morning security guard I always slipped butterscotch to, looked helpless holding his radio. I took the stairs, 19 floors in 4 minutes, lungs burning. Reached the lobby. Riley spotted me, shrieked, "Baby sis, surprise!" She charged, flowers thrust forward, phone in my face. Mom and Dad behind her, smiling awkwardly, Mom waving like it was still homecoming. I stopped exactly 3 meters away, arms crossed. Riley still live. Everyone, this is Harper, my little sis. Isn't she cute? Say hi to the fam. I looked straight into the lens, ice voice. Turn it off. Riley fake laughed. What? We're just... End the live stream now or I call police for trespassing and unauthorized recording. My voice loud enough for the whole lobby. Comments froze, then exploded. Uh-oh, not wholesome. She's pissed. Riley whined, "Come on, Harper, we flew all night." I nodded at Marcus. He stepped forward. "Ma'am, sir, this is private property. Please step outside or we have to escort you." Dad spoke first time, hoarse. "We just want to see our daughter. What's wrong with that?" I looked at him. First time in 6 years, 7 months. Older, almost all gray, same hoodie. I said, slow, clear. This is not the place, and I am not your daughter anymore. Mom instantly burst into practiced tears. "How can you say that to your own mother? I missed you so much." Riley still hadn't killed the feed, just lowered the phone, red light blinking. I stepped closer, loud enough for the mic. "Riley, I'm giving you 3 seconds before I sue you for privacy violation under Washington law. 1. She killed it. Screen black. 142K viewers? WTF just happened? I looked at Marcus. "Please escort them out." "Thank you." Marcus and another guard gently but firmly guided them to the doors. Riley yelled over her shoulder, "Harper, at least talk to us." I didn't answer. I turned, walked to the elevator, pressed 19. Doors closed before they could follow. Upstairs, the whole floor knew. Linh and Mateo waiting, worried. Linh hugged me hard. "You okay?" I nodded, hands shaking a little. Mateo swore in Spanish for a full minute. Noon that day, Riley chopped the edited video. "My sister abandoned the family for money and fame. Heartbreak. Please send prayers." 9:30 minutes, sad music, Riley crying in Airbnb. "I flew my parents here to reconcile and she wouldn't even speak to us. Money really changes people." 12M views in 8 hours. Hashtag Harper Ellis trended top 3 U.S. Twitter. I turned off notifications, sat in a small conference room, called company counsel. 15 minutes later, Eris posted on LinkedIn. Eris Global respects employee privacy. An unauthorized filming incident occurred in our lobby today. Appropriate legal measures are under review. That night, Riley tagged the company account in more crying stories. I blocked the account. 11 p.m. I opened my building door to find the red roses dumped in the hallway and a handwritten card from Mom. "Baby, I'm so sorry. We just wanted to talk. Love you always." I picked up the roses, dropped them in the trash chute hole, tore the card into confetti, let it flutter after. Before bed, I opened the USB, looked at Mrs. Ellis, whispered, "They found me, Mrs. E, but they only found the shell they once threw away." Seattle rain pounded harder than usual. I double-locked the door and, for the first time in years, slept without fear. November 20, 2023, 9:47 p.m. Seattle's worst rainstorm of the year. Sheets of water, wind, First Hill streets turned rivers. I came home soaked from a long day of lawyer meetings, key and lock, and there she was. My mother. Alone. No dad, no Riley, no ring light. Just a broken black umbrella, soaked camel trench coat, silver hair plastered to her face. She stood in front of 8B, clutching a crumpled paper bag, eyes red but dry. She looked up, voice trembling with cold. "Harper, I came alone." I stood frozen, keys still in hand, rain dripping from my hair to the hallway carpet. She whispered, almost lost in the storm. "No cameras, no live stream. I swear. I just want to say sorry, and goodbye, if that's what you need." I looked at the woman who chose a private jet over my graduation, now shivering under fluorescent hallway light. I opened the door wide, but did not invite her in. She understood, took one step, stood exactly on the threshold, water pulling at her shoes. I stayed dry inside, door half open, 7 minutes of silence while rain roared. 7 minutes that felt like 7 years. She spoke first, voice raw. "I know I was wrong. I know I missed everything." That morning I thought, graduations all look the same, but Riley only had one chance at a private jet. I picked the louder thing. I was stupid. She looked down at her soaked shoes. "I watched your Vegas speech on repeat. When you talked about predicting risk, I realized the biggest risk of your life was us. I don't blame you for running. I'm sorry I made you have to." My hand tightened on the key until knuckles went white. She pulled a small green velvet box from the bag, my favorite color when I was little. Opened it, my old Pandora bracelet, the one I bought myself at 13 with tutoring money, that Riley borrowed forever. 2 charms missing. I found it in Riley's room. She didn't even remember whose it was. I brought it for you. She held it out. I didn't take it. She bit her lip, eyes brimming. I'm not asking forgiveness. I just needed to say once, face to face, no audience. I was wrong, Harper. I didn't see you. I let you be invisible in your own home. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked on the last word. Rain or tears, impossible to tell. I looked her in the eyes, first time in almost 7 years, and said slow, clear, Arctic. You're 6 years and 7 months too late, Lisa. I used her name, not Mom, not Mother, Lisa. Her face went ghost white, as if I'd slapped her. I continued, every word measured. You didn't come because you saw me. You came because you saw my face on a magazine cover. You came because Riley's followers asked, "Where's your sister?" You came because I finally have value in other people's eyes. She shook her head frantically. No, Harper, I raised one hand. She stopped. I don't want your apology tonight. I wanted it the day I walked alone. I wanted it every forgotten birthday. I wanted it when I worked 3 jobs for tuition while you paid for Riley's lash extensions. You weren't there when I was invisible. Don't show up now that I'm impossible to miss. Her shoulders shook. The umbrella dropped, rolled. I looked 3 more seconds, then gently, finally, closed the door. Click. Through the peephole, I watched her stand another minute, rain streaming down her face. Then she turned, walked to the elevator, left the umbrella like trash. I stood with my back to the door, breathed deep. No tears, only relief. I opened the door again, picked up the wet umbrella, placed it in the communal stand. Dropped the green box straight into the trash chute, didn't look again. That night, I opened the USB, looked at Mrs. Ellis, whispered, I just closed the door on the past, Mrs. E. Thank you for teaching me how to close it without asking permission. Rain hammered the windows. I slept better than I had in years. November 2025, 3 days after my 29th birthday. Seattle still raining, but today a rare winter sunbreak glittered on wet pavement. I stood center stage at TEDx Seattle, Benaria Hall, 2,600 seats full, red circle under warm lights. My talk title glowing behind me. The Power of Chosen Family. Navy suit jacket, short hair, no jewelry except the green USB on a chain at my neck like a talisman. I smiled, inhaled, began. 11 years ago, a teacher told me, you don't have to be smaller so that others can feel bigger. I was 14. I didn't understand. Until the day I graduated college and no one came. Dead silence. I told the truth, no tears, no drama. The text message the morning of graduation, the empty 65,000-seat stadium, the 62-hour Greyhound, the name I chose, the people who chose me back without ever asking me to disappear. I looked at the front row. Lynn, eyes wet, grinning huge, fingers laced with Mateos. Beside them, a dozen Obsidian teammates, my company, founded last year with Lynn and Mateo after we left Eris. 42 employees now, 2 floors in SLU, fresh off $180 million Series A led by A16Z. I continued. I used to think the only way to be seen was to vanish. Turns out, vanishing from the wrong people is how you become visible to the right ones. Applause. I waited, then closed. Some people think I disappeared. Truth is, I finally appeared to the people who never asked me to be smaller. Lights dimmed. Standing ovation almost a minute long. Lynn stood first, whistling. Mateo screamed like it was a football match. I bowed, stepped down, hugged every person in the front row. No one called me Riley Quinn's sister. They called me Harper, or boss, or the girl who sees the future. That night, we celebrated at our favorite Capitol Hill taco joint. Lynn, drunk, arm around my neck. You know the day you walked into Eris, I told my mom, this girl's gonna rule the world. Mateo raised Margarita, to chosen family and the most talented foundling on earth. I laughed until my ribs hurt. 1 a.m., back home, I kicked off shoes, opened my black leather wallet. In the tiniest pocket, the worn 4x6 photo, me, 16, ponytail, standing with Mrs. Lauren Ellis in front of whiteboard equations. I turned it over. Her blue ink handwriting still sharp. To Harper, the world is lucky to have your eyes. Keep them wide open. L. Ellis, 2019. I pressed the photo to my heart, whispered into the quiet First Hill night. I kept them open, Mrs. E. I found a whole new family. I see the future. And for the first time, I see me. Outside, the rain had stopped. A crescent moon hung over the Space Needle, so bright it felt almost cheeky. I placed the photo on the entry table, where I would see it every single morning. No frame, no glass, just there, like a compass that always pointed the right direction. Harper Quinn had died forever on a May evening in 2018 on the front steps of a house in Dublin, Ohio. Harper Ellis had appeared, sharp, undeniable, unapologetic, under TEDx lights in 2025. And I knew, whatever tomorrow brought, I would never have to make myself small again. I turned off the lights, lay down, listened to the city breathe outside. For the first time in my life, I fell asleep without dreaming of being left behind.